while I'm out here, I thought I would just do a quick video on how I've set my reefing lines up and give a little demo of how well it works. I think it goes without saying that reefing is something that you need to have in your arsenal of tricks for when the wind picks up or you get a squall, big gusts, you want to be able to reduce your sail area. Now, you've probably heard the saying, reef early and reef often, and that is something that I cannot emphasize enough. And there's another saying that goes, if you're thinking about putting a reef in, then you probably should put a reef in. So just keep that in mind. If you ever sail and you think, oh, this is a little bit too much, I might put a reef in, the fact that you've even thought about it means that you probably should put a reef in. And it's much better to reef early than too late, when things start getting hotted up and sails are flapping, you're overpowered, things start sliding. You just don't want to be in that situation. And it's all part of making sailing safer, not just for yourself, but your crew on board as well. So it really comes down to seamanship skills. So the first thing really is that I've got all my control lines led back to the cockpit now. There's no reason for me to ever go up on the foredeck, hopefully, unless I get a snag. Basically what I've got is I've got 2 cringles on the leech and 2 cringles on the luff, and they are my reefing points. So this lower one is my first reef, and the second one further up is my second reef. And this type of reefing system is basically called slab reefing because you basically lower them in slabs. You've obviously got in-mast furling that will furl the mainsail up inside the mast, and you've got boom furling, which you can, sort of a bit of an older thing, where you can rotate the boom and it will roll the mainsail around the boom. I've basically got 2 sets of lines, and I've colour coded them black and grey. So I've got black and grey on the starboard side, and I've got black and grey on the port side. All of my lines that are part of a system set up so that I work from left to right as if I was reading a book. And black is always going to be the first one. So that's how I've set it up. The grey is the second reef, the black is the first reef. So my line down here runs along the deck, up through the cringle, and ties off to the mast. So when I pull that, that will pull that first cringle down. And this black line runs along the deck, inside the boom, where it comes out of the boom, up through the cringle, and then is tied off on the other side of the boom there. And that is set. The black one is about there, the grey one's about there, because when I pull the reef down, that's about where the cringle ends up, so I end up with quite a flat sail shape. If I was to move it forwards, then I'm going to have quite a curved sail shape. And I'm not really after power. If I'm in a reefing situation, I'm trying to reduce power. So I tend to have it set up so that the foot of the mainsail is quite flat and there's less draft in the mainsail. Less draft equals less power. One of the most useful things that is required for this setup is the topping lift, which is this yellow one, runs all the way to the top, down the mast, right back here. And that only ever really travels at about probably a foot in distance. I'll put my reefs in on port tack today, I think. And the wind has dropped, so this is not a real case scenario, but it is practicing and checking out how well this runs after re-rigging it all. The other really useful thing that I've got here is my tiller pilot, and that is probably my saving grace when it comes to single-handed sailing. To not be bound to the tiller does allow me to do more in and around the boat. So we're sailing along nicely. Let's assume that the wind's picked up and we're getting a bit overpowered and the boat's heeling, and we're not too happy about it, and we're thinking, oh, I might be needing to put a reef in a minute. Well, that's your cue. Let's get a reef in. So the first thing that I do is I take up the tension on the top and lift. So in order to do that, I would ease the main so that it's not fully flapping, but it's completely depowered, and the genoa is still driving me forward, so I'm still sailing. I don't have to go head to wind. I don't have to do any crazy maneuver. Right, so I've eased the mainsail. I'm now going to take up the slack on the top and lift so that it takes the weight off the boom. I will then release the main halyard and then I will pull my black line, and that will start to pull the mainsail down. When that's down, I lock it off, tension the main halyard, and that's stage 1 complete. So the next thing I'll do is pull the second black line, and you can see that that will pull the leech to the end of the boom, and I lock that off. And the last thing would be to release the top and lift. So I've released the top and lift, and then I can sheet in. As you can see, I've got a really tight foot on the mainsail, but that's because I'm in low power mode. I've still got some curvature in the sail, but I've flattened it right off. The next thing I would do in this boat in particular is if it was still slightly overpowered, I would then take the first reef in on the genoa. And you can see there's a black dot there, and I roll the genoa up until that black dot is wrapped around the furler. This boat tends to sail better with full genoa and less main in a reefing situation. And my furling line is here, so that's pretty easy to do. If you haven't got your reefing set up like you know it, like the back of your hand, you're going to delay when you put your reefs in. And as previously mentioned, if you're thinking about putting a reef in, you'll most likely need to get one in. Right, so I'm going to shake the reefs out. I'll do the same thing again. Ease the mainsail or the traveller or both. That will take some pressure out of the mainsail so it's not hard to hoist. I'm going to tension my top and lift, and then I'm literally going to uncleat both of my reefing lines. Now's probably a good time to have a little bit of housekeeping, but we're not in a hurry, so you know, as long as we've got them right. And now it should just be a case of pulling the mainsail back up. So let's see if it will do it. I think I might let some more mainsail out. That feels a little bit. You can also pull some lines out, help things run a bit smoother. Oh, where's it's kind of, oh, standing on it, yeah, nice one. There we go, mainsail back up, and then top and lift, release the top and lift, and then I can sheet my traveller to windward and sheet the main back in. So I'm now pretty much powered up as best I can be. So here we are up on deck. Remember, it's the black and the grey ones, which are these two here. And I haven't got any proper deck organisers here, so I've just lashed pulleys on. And my black one, first reef, runs up through the cringle. There, back down here, and at the minute, I've just got that tied off on a bowline. That is not ideal actually, looking at that. Oh no, I've poked it through and tied a knot through the gooseneck. So I've done that with the grey one as well, which is Reef 2. Comes down the other side, pokes you there. I've just put like a double overhand knot in there, my favourite knot. And then the leech line comes along the deck. You've got these two here, same thing, through a couple of blocks, up into the bottom of in the end of the boom. here, these two, along the boom, out the other end and up. So I've got 3 sheaves underneath here. 3 sheaves there, 3 sheaves on the end. So it's actually a decent boom for this setup. And I've also got this yellow line here, which is my outhaul. So that runs up to 6:1 on the end of the boom as well. And as you can see, it runs down there and along to the back. So I can control that from the cockpit too. So that's pretty much it. This is a bit of a mess here, but I've set all this up on Saturday, and that is ergonomically, it's working really well. There's a bit of crossover, so this grey one crosses over the main halyard, but there's no chafing. And what I've actually done, I was really pleased with this. So my deck organiser is just a 3-sheave, like a Barton 3-sheave deck organiser. And I had 6 lines running through it and they were chafing and there was lots of friction. So what I cooked up one night at about 4 o'clock in the morning was buying the stainless steel eye bolts and fixing the organiser down with the eye bolts so they go through, and that's what's holding the organiser on. And the great thing about this, apart from the reefing lines, they have quite a bit of travel obviously. The outhaul doesn't. That only travels about a foot. And I've got the top and lift on that side, which only travels about a foot. And that saved me from getting double stacking organisers to get 6 sheaves in there. I thought that was quite a good way of doing it. And these cost me, for 6 of these, cost me about £15 delivered, which is pretty cool. Telltale's flying lovely. Beautiful day out here, and I hope you enjoyed my quick rundown of my reefing system. This is by no means anything I've invented. This is just a standard setup. But it's surprising how many boats I do see that don't really have a proper reefing system, and it makes me wonder how, if the wind picks up, how they're going to get reefs in, or even get their sails down quickly without having to get up on deck, because that's the last thing you want to do. If you get hit by a squall or some strong wind or some rough sea, the last thing you want to do is be up on the deck trying to pull the sail down. And quite often with these older boats, even more modern boats and smaller boats as well, you have this horn here, there's one either side, and what you're supposed to do is release the mainsail and physically pull the sail down and hook the eye on the horn. But if you're doing that solo, I guarantee you come up here, having released the main halyard, you come up here, pull this down, and you get to halfway down and it jams, and you look back and all your main halyard has either got a knot in it and not going through the jammer, or the jammer's closed itself. Then you have to go back, unjam it, or try and pull some through, pull the cringle down all the way, then you've got to go back, tension the main halyard, and the same thing when you put the second reef in as well. So that's how I do it. If you think I can modify this system, let me know. The other one, just before I go, the other one this is double line slab reefing. So double line is in one for the luff, one for the leech. You often see single line. You can make this a single line reefing system, which basically means that you have one line come along here, up through the cringle, down, along the boom, up through the cringle on the leech, and back down. And when you pull that one line, it's supposed to pull both of them down. Now, for me, that is not the way I would want to do it, because I would like control over individual lines, and instead of trying to put force on the leech and the luff with one line to pull it all down, I'd much rather do one at a time, and then it's more controlled. So that's what I'm thinking about as well. If you found this video useful, please hit the like button, drop me a comment below and let me know what sailing you're doing and tell me about your reefing system. And if you want to see more of this kind of content, hit the subscribe button and the bell notification button.